Hello and welcome to the webinar series live on air. This is round 2. Well, it's really the 3rd one we've done together. No, 4th maybe. Anyway, it's welcome back. I'm Sam Power.
I'm Yasin Gideon.
And we're
doing this webinar, right? Yeah, so today we have actually people here who can ask us questions to make it a little bit more interactive. And before we get started, I actually asked if there are any kind of topics that people want to get covered. And one topic that was mentioned, which I think could be interesting to explore, is how to find a mentor that you can accelerate your growth. What are your thoughts about this, Sam?
My thoughts on how to find a mentor. I'd say be discerning with finding a mentor. I think it's a great thing to do.
Yes.
At the stage you're at, I think there's always someone who's got some understanding of something that can enhance your growth. So I think it's great to do, but don't rush into just finding anyone, and don't fall into the trap of putting people on pedestals. This is something I used to do, and I'm sure you probably did as well. You probably had me on a pedestal one day.
Yes.
But putting people on pedestals is dangerous, because you start losing faith in your own self and your own sense of empowerment when you start thinking, oh, well, they know this, they're the guru, they're the next this, they're the next teacher. So I think it's always coming from a place of self-confidence in whatever stage you're at, and not giving away your sense of power.
Yeah.
And then really just use your intuition, really just take your time, do research online, send that intention out to the universe, and you'll start feeling like who resonates, who doesn't, and really be in tune with yourself as you're speaking to someone, like what you feel inside as they're speaking. Do you feel this sense? Do you feel like you're expanding when you're with them? That's a good sign. Mm-hmm. Or do you feel like you're contracting? Is there? What do you feel from them? So they're my thoughts. What about you?
I 100% agree with that, because there's a big danger that you lose yourself, and that's not the purpose of a mentor. It's supposed that you accelerate yourself. In actually finding a mentor, what you said is also, I agree with that, either like through the internet or books or whatever, or asking for people, like go to meetups and you can meet people, hang out with them. But I would not necessarily rush it. I would spend some time actually exploring how it is, how that person thinks, how it feels to be with that person. And also, if you really want the person to mentor you, and you have kind of a good feeling, and you ask them questions, act on them. Because on the other side, the mentor is, the motivation is really there when he sees that the person's progressing, is taking on board some of the things that he's suggesting and trying them out. Because if you're not trying anything out that the mentor suggests, and then you come again with the same question, and he kind of already answered it, it is somewhat demotivating for the person to be that kind of mentor figure. So it's a mutual thing. So one side you have to be sure, but the other side he also wants to be sure that his investment in energy into you as a person is actually worthwhile. So I think those are the most important steps. And once you've actually shown that you're taking on board it and you are highly motivated to implement those steps, it is a lot easier than to get closer and to really get all the information from that person that you need or that you're seeking. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Okay, fantastic. Do you have any follow-up question to that, or have we covered what you kind of were hoping for?
Yeah, I think like it actually covers almost everything. But when I started to do my research online, isn't it? It's just because you actually find so much information online. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's just really hard to like streamline the information and to find the correct mentors, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess one thing that that you might be interesting for you is to actually segment what in which area you want a mentor, because someone might have actually excellent relationship, be an excellent relationship mentor, but maybe financially you don't want to take on board what he's saying. So it makes sense to kind of segment that. And if the online thing is somewhat, I mean, I understand there's so much information out there. I find it a lot more useful when I just get in touch with a person, like meeting them, and getting out there, being open. That has helped me a lot more than just kind of constantly trying and finding that person. I always have, if I found a mentor, it was always kind of by accident for me. I was like, oh yeah, this is actually interesting. And I've started to follow the person, and I was like, oh yeah. Well, not physically follow. I wasn't stalking that person, but kind of what they produced in the area that they were in.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it makes sense. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I'd say rather than online, think where would your mentor be hanging out, and go to those types of groups, environments as much as possible, because then you'll naturally just start connecting with those types of people and start telling people I'm looking for a mentor. That's what I did. I said I'm looking for a mentor to a few people, and then a friend said, "Oh, I have a friend of mine who do you want to meet?" And then we met. So yeah, start going, I think, to the environments rather than like trawling online.
Yeah. You know, like I used to like do that all the time. Like I used to like be online and go to like forums and stuff. But like it didn't, it didn't take me anywhere. So I've started to, like go to meetups and stuff. So yeah, it's been, like I'm able to like connect with a variety of people. You get to like interact with them. You get there, and like their perspectives as well, isn't it? So yeah, there's always
but that's actually something very important that Sam said, is that he asked for it, because when you look at it from like psychology, the kind of an experiment that we are all linked together by 6 degrees, maximum 6 degrees of separation. So actually, your mentor is away maximum of or on average 6 steps, six corners away from you. And when you think about it, well, that's not actually that much. It might be actually that you just have to ask one person, you will find your mentor. But if you don't ask, it is a lot harder, because people don't know.
Yeah.
They don't know that you're looking for that. And so when you actually ask, you will get it a lot easier. It will be so much easier for you to find someone.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
That's good. Yeah.
Cool.
Thanks.
Does anyone else has a question in this area or a different area?
For me, it's quite a basic question, but I thought I knew what a mentor was, but I think there's quite a difference between a coach and a mentor. So I guess it's, say you find a mentor, how would you make the most of that mentor? And what do you define by mentor?
All right. I haven't looked up what exactly is the definition of mentor. For me, it is at least quite a loose, not a very tight necessarily bond, but someone who is interested in where the bond can get tighter over time, who has a knowledge that I don't have in an area, who has experienced it. Because often, for example, a coach, yes, they have knowledge and they can coach and guide you along, but they don't necessarily have to have the life experience of having gone through that themselves, and they still can do very powerful work. A mentor, in my opinion, has done it and has seen the results and can give you in that thing advice and specific directions. So if I ask for finance or relationship, he knows oh yes, I tried this out and this out, so they can relate to that and they can give you more kind of advice than just kind of coaching questions which pulls out the best. Of course, they can combine that.
Okay.
But that's somewhat the distinction I have in my mind. I don't know about you, Sam.
No, it's what you said there.
Okay. And the other question that you asked, Peter, was how can you get the most? And I think that's what I mentioned before, is that when you actually show that you're willing and you really want to progress, and you show up to the mentor and you ask them questions, you write it down, you're highly engaged, and you go out and try it, and then you come back with feedback. Because if you don't go out and try it, well, the mentor probably feels like he wasted his time. So go out and try it, and then afterwards come back and give him feedback on that. Or if you've made changes, you can of course share it as well. As Seth said, you want to keep staying in your power, not just blindly.
Yeah, exactly. Take action, 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 action.
Okay.
Don't fall into the trap of giving the mentor, the coach, any responsibility for yourself. Just allow them as like a catalyst, as a fuel, but you are still the captain and completely responsible for what happens.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thanks.
You don't want to give the power away.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Any other questions?
Maybe there was a pun, but no one laughed.
You guys have any other questions that come to mind to any kind of topic that you would be curious on our opinions?
Yeah. What is your opinions? How do you see the soul, and what the soul represents for you?
I'm going to let you take that one first.
That's a very profound question, isn't it? Like,
it is profound.
That's such a beautiful question, and
yeah, exactly.
It goes straight to my soul. The soul. I mean, it's a word, but the feeling behind that for myself is just is. Just the source. It's the awareness. It's the stillness behind all this crazy stuff on the surface. It's the calm, playful awareness in the background. It's just enjoying this little ride. It doesn't actually take anything seriously. That's what comes to my mind when you ask that question.
I have a question for you then. Where's the distinction between soul and spirit? Like, do you see any kind of distinction there, or do you think it's kind of...
Oh, that's a good question.
Same thing.
Well, again, they're different words, and people have different models of like your body, mind, your soul, your spirit, and soul is this kind of communicator interface between the two. For me, where I'm at the moment, I have this awareness of something non-material, something ineffable, something undescribable, some kind of awareness that's just truly magical and beautiful, which you could call soul, spirit, love, awareness, light. And then there's the more gross sensations, matter, minds. But I'd be interested, Carla, to hear how you differentiate between soul and spirit.
I'm not too sure about it, to be honest, and I think they probably mean the same. I'm not sure. But I liked what you said about how you feel the soul. It just is, because that's exactly how I feel about it. It just is. Yeah, and I think is the place where you find yourself, is the place where you get all the answers you need. Yeah, and it's a very good place to be and to go once in a while, or if you can, just be there, all the time.
Yes.
If that's possible.
Yeah.
That's my view of the soul.
It's just permanent paradise.
Yeah, but I think with that we need to remember that we are here, and this is Earth, and we need to be grounded, and all of that thing. So being all the time in a dreamy and fantasy, and for me dream and fantasy is reality. So you need to just to ground yourself and remember that you are here. Because if you don't have that, you're gonna lose yourself.
Yeah, very much.
I can relate to that.
Sorry, I missed that.
I can relate to that.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, the soul, those concepts really, I have not taken that much interest in them itself because they seem somewhat artificial, created by the mind. But what Sam kind of said with that kind of awareness resonates quite strongly with that. And for me, it seems that the focus that you put your awareness on, if you're coming from the place, oh, I am looking like for my soul, I'm looking at this kind of back awareness, is more kind of that kind of focus that can uproot you than when you are actually coming from that place and connecting to the reality, to everything that is. That doesn't mean that either one is good or bad. Maybe it is a necessary stage to actually go through to kind of look for that and kind of really connect with that. But I do think that people can absolutely live out of that into reality, and then there's no danger of kind of losing yourself. If that makes sense.
Funny enough, today morning I was actually listening to this video on Eckhart Tolle, and it was actually a brilliant documentary on him, which is I think still on YouTube. He talks about about the soul and how we are connected to the earth and and the universe, and he keeps repeating to be in the moment. And also there's actually a a graduation speech given by Jim Carrey, and he talks about this exact same kind of like a higher purpose for our lives, and where he says that we actually transcend our our body when we start to give people. What I think is the purpose of soul or spirit, I don't know the difference, but when we start to give back to people, I think that is when the power comes to us, and I'm not sure if you guys are aware of this convention called as 21 Convention, which is still on YouTube. There's actually a speech given by a venture capitalist called Ben Benson, I think, if I'm correct by his name. He talks about 7 laws on financial freedom, and one of the laws is actually giving back, and how it sort of purifies our our mind, our body, and our spirit and everything. I think on the soul side, I think we actually gain inner peace when we start to sort of give back rather than just go inwards.
Yes. Yeah, and actually it's one thing when it comes especially to performance anxiety that a lot of people miss. They have kind of turned the camera around onto them. It's like, oh, how are going to people like me, or how I'm going to get across, and then suddenly all this anxiety is there because the focus is kind of reversed. It's on that gives that you can give to an audience that actually can receive something, then it is not about you anymore. And the anxiety that exists before, if you truly make that shift completely, the anxiety cannot be there anymore because you are giving, you're in that state of giving. I give my clients the example of, if I'm a water carrier and I'm walking around trying to give water to people, and I can go to people who want Coke and be like, would you like to have some water? And the person is like, well, no, do you have Coke? And I'm like, no, I don't have Coke, I have water. So that person is not suited for that, but it has nothing to do with me. They just are not ready for that. And also when I go for when I go into the desert and I'm sitting there with the water bucket and there's a person really, really thirsty and I'm sitting there thinking, well, I don't know if I'm good enough. Maybe I should first get like a degree in water carrying. I don't know. I don't know if they really they will like me. Well, I mean, they don't accept that water from me. Well, I mean, it's completely ridiculous that person is going to be so thankful. So because they're thirsty, they're really thirsty, right? And so yes, absolutely, when you give, and there's actually a great book about that. It's called The Go-Giver, which talks about a little bit business parable. And I really like that book, and I absolutely think it is a very ethical and very good way to conduct business, and I think it's very healing as well for the soul.
Yeah. Giving is living.
Giving is living, yeah.
The less actually that you keep to yourself, less attachments that you have, and the more you just let go and look to serve, the happier you become yourself.
Yeah.
You could. The more kind of selfish you are, the more selfless you are. It's just this loop. And one profound thing that will help in your happiness is when you start seeing every other human being and living thing as same as yourself, as a connection that you were speaking about that Eckhart Tolle mentioned. Because then you start to see that actually when you're harming another person, you're harming yourself. When you're helping another person, you're helping yourself. And there's no more me and you anymore, but there's us. There's just one big. And it's beautiful when you start viewing the whole world as just your brothers and sisters.
So Sam, what is then your thought on like violence, if kind of violence is happening, and you have this kind of perspective? So I mean, Jesus Christ had that kind of saying that if someone slaps you on one side of the face, you turn and hold the other cheek there. So what is your take on that when you really truly are coming from that place of that you are hurting someone else? If someone is hurting you, how do you respond to that?
Can I also, add an additional question as well, because it's kind of related. Sam talked about, being universal, isn't it? Like us kind of thing. But I think, one of the best books written on power is by Robert Greene. Yeah, that is actually like a completely 180-degree turn from Eckhart Tolle's philosophy, isn't it? So, I'm also curious on how you would balance the two, because I do not see as having compassion always, and I don't see the going into a power struggle, where you are actually fighting yourself, isn't it? If you know what I mean, there is always a constant battle between us and them, and sort of, oh well, you are like compassionate being, but sometimes you have to be selfish as well, isn't it?
What's your question?
So I mean, my question is, how would you, how far can we go with this us mentality now?
Us, as in, you mean everyone's connected?
Yeah, everyone's connected, because when you don't get the sort of response that you actually want, then you start to question that, then you start to question that everyone's connected philosophy, isn't it?
You may do, but you may get to a stage where there's no question about it, and that you understand that if you're showing compassion and love in whatever situation, everyone's going to benefit. Because even if someone's being really unkind, you don't benefit by producing a similar vibration of negativity, even though it might be a real, why is this bad? Even though it's so easy to say, outside of the context. It doesn't actually do you any good to prove yourself. This is all patterns of the mind, the need to prove ourselves, to win an argument, to do all these really heavy things. It doesn't actually give you any benefit. That makes sense?
Yeah. Yeah, I think, like, it just like comes once you sort of let go, isn't it? And letting go has always been my struggle, so.
That's all of us together, mate. All
Yeah.
brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
So with your, what was it, your violence question? What was the
Yeah.
Do I think violence is useful?
No, it's not what I'm saying. It's
I
useful.
wouldn't say useful, but
Oh.
what I'm saying is, like, I don't know, like, once it's just, I would say, like, like violence, because like I'm in a corporate environment, isn't it? And you are always faced that kind of, like, situations where there is so much office politics, and sometimes you have to play the game, isn't it? And that's where I struggle a lot. I would go, I would be happy to go for compassionate behavior at workplace, but sometimes you just can't, and that's where I just feel like, what the hell is going on with this world?
I could be wrong, but I think I'm also in a corporate environment. And I think what Sam is saying is that when you see these struggles going on around you, and yes, it's easy to get wrapped up in it, just to view it all as part of the life and not to get too, upset by it. Is that what you're saying? Just to
Yeah.
kind of view it, even if you lose out, just to view it as, okay, that's, I'm not going to get annoyed by that. Is that what you're saying, Sam?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, the whole concept of losing out is only created by the mind, because it creates something to lose in the first place. But when you're connected, let's say, with the soul doesn't give a toss. The soul is just very, 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 very content, at peace in whatever scenario, and it's the mind identity that creates these things that it needs and expectations. And so then when you go into a situation identified with these needs and expectations that then aren't met, then suddenly you've lost out, because you've created something to then lose. Whereas if you go into every situation with nothing to lose, no attachments, this can take some practice, maybe over some time, to cultivate this mindset, then you've got nothing to lose, you can never be harmed, you're just going around because there's no expectation, you're just this beacon of understanding and love and compassion. Easy to say, but something definitely that can be worked on. And that means that you don't stab yourself, because all you're doing when people are, let's say, not meeting your expectations, it's not them that are actually causing you the harm, it's you and your own mind going, and just turning the knife a little bit.
So what you're saying is, when before, if someone else had got something that you wanted, you would have been quite annoyed, whereas now if that happened, say somebody got, I don't know, promotion or something, you could then say, oh, I hope that they do well. For me, I'm just, that's then giving me a different opportunity that I could, or is that just taking it?
Yeah, well, why not? I mean, there's no right or wrong. It's just what I'd advocate and encourage is choose an option, a kind option for yourself. So it's not like you should do this or should do that. But the paradigm I have to view the world is just this one big ball of energy. There's different vibrations of energy. Some are light, and some are heavy. Now, I know what I prefer out of the two. I prefer a light reality rather than a heavy one. So I'm more interested in not what I should or shouldn't do, but what reactions, thoughts, feelings, situations, what ones are going to give me a kinder and lighter and more loving reality.
Okay.
So if I'm in that scenario, is it kinder for myself, let alone the other person, but just for myself, is it kinder for me to go, that bastard, my promotion, Is that really kind for myself? Not really, because the sensations it's causing inside, maybe some heaviness in the chest, some elevated heart beating, like tightness in the head. I'm not, so I'm more on the heavy scale of reality. So I'm always choosing a lighter reality because it means that I'm more expansive, I'm more at peace, and then just because of that, anyone else I come into contact with is going to benefit from that. So win-win.
Okay.
Does that answer the questions?
I just want to add onto that a little bit, because one thing that a lot of people struggle with is that kind of choice. Within the moment, there's this feeling, and they don't feel like they have a choice because there's an identification going on with the mind, with the thought, as when you can see that you are the space, and not the object that comes into the space. It is different of how you are interacting with that object coming in. Okay, there's a thought coming in. How are you going to interact with it? How are you opening up, or are you closing down, locking down? Because a problem really only exists when you lock down around it and you kind of freak out about it, and the energy is kind of trapped, right? So making that shift from being identified with objects and ideas to actually thinking, oh, not just thinking, but actually feeling that you're this expansive space and things are coming in, it gives you that choice that you're talking about, where you can interact a lot more easily with those thoughts and emotions that can arise.
That's brilliant.
What I do want to ask is when there's actually physical violence, because you said, with kind of the us feeling, so someone is would be physically hurting me, right? How does that kind of us, like this expansion that you talked at the very beginning about, how does that relate to that kind of situation where you're physically getting hurt? Are you, bashing at a person, or how do you actually deal with that when you come from that? Oh, it's all us. I'm just, they're just hurting themselves and they're hurting me. But what are you going to do?
Well, it depends on what's going on, but obviously move away from the violence as much as possible. That means it's quite obvious, just running away or pinning them down. I don't know how strong I am. You're going to have to give me some scenarios, like who's attacking me. But whatever it is, just stopping that, obviously, in whatever way. And it's not going to do me any good feeding it mentally with more aggression. That's just going to stab myself even more.
Yeah, no, because there's a certain extreme that spiritual people are going to, like saying, I think Byron Katie was something, defense is like the first act of war.
Say again?
Defense is the first act of war,
okay.
by Byron Katie. Or when you look, at the whole Jesus figure who, dies at the end at the fucking cross, right? So they're going to a certain extreme with this kind of, the violence is. They're not running away from it. It seems somewhat weird, that kind of perception of, well, yeah, I'm just going to, you slap me, I'm going to hold the other cheek to you so you can slap me again. It's like, all right. But when you look at Gandhi, what he has done with that kind of the protest and actually really saying, I'm not going to use any violence. I'm not making any kind of sense in
I think I get what you're getting at. It's interesting because I was just with a client earlier and we were talking about how to deal with when people are essentially verbally being violent. And again, it's about there not being anyone in the first place to take it personally and get hurt. So it's like you're almost this transparent thing, and the energy that they're sending your way, it's like you're not actually resisting it, you're just letting it kind of go through. If that makes sense.
All right.
Wicked.
Has anyone anything to add to that, or any other question that comes up because of that? Or not because of that?
Well, I just think that if someone comes, aggressively to you because of this or that, the first thing that comes to my mind is that that person is not on your level of a perception of the world and of perception of yourself. So that person doesn't know. He can't remember that we are all one and we should be all, at peace. That's all I had to add.
Muito bom. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's nothing personal whatsoever. Different perception, different vibration. But it doesn't change that there's still something.
Well, but that's why we're here, and that's we start doing all these things because we want to change that, and it all starts with you and me. Let's do it.
Vamos! Start a love revolution, guys.
I love revolutions.
Love
The revolution of the heart.
You see this? Love revolution.
Yeah, that's right. Good one.
So, do you have anything like, or do you want to do any kind of practical exercise for this? And when you boil it down, it comes to attachment, to kind of attachment to thought, to thinking there's some kind of personality, or that I'm identifying with an idea as me, and then someone's attacking the idea, and I think it's an attack on me. So, is there any kind of practical exercise that comes to your mind that we could do here, or give people?
Yeah, there's something that's come to your mind. We can do a little observation exercise together now for a couple of minutes. So get a pen and paper.
Well, I don't have one. Shit.
Alright, and on your pen, on your paper, you can do it on your computer, but you're going to have two columns. One column is going to say I, me, my. And the other column is non, I, me, mine. Okay, no, no.
What is the other column?
Non, I, me, mine.
Not, okay.
Yeah, not I, me, mine, non, mine. So for the next 2 minutes, what we're going to do is simply observe the minds, observe our thoughts, and just pay attention every time a thought form comes in that has a sense of me, of I, of this is me, this is Carla, this is Yakin, this is Ridwan, this is Peter. Something connected to your story, probably a projection of the future or the past. Make a note in the column. Any thought that has a real sense of me. That's me. That's me. And then any thought that comes in that doesn't have a sense of you, there's no sense of self attached to it, put a tick in the other column. Does that make sense?
Yep.
All right. So I'll start the clock timer. 2 minutes. Starting from now. Alright, I'll stop here for now. So, one way to answer your question, Yakin, is just consistently start observing the sense of self and the sense of I that one has with one's thoughts. And start just observing, not trying to get rid of it, literally just be curious. Oh, and questioning. With a light curiosity, not like a harsh aggressiveness, but a light curiosity in every thought that has a real sense of me and I, like, oh, is that the real me? Where's that I coming from? Where's that sense of I coming from? Who is that? Is that me? And just kind of playfully questioning this real sense of I that comes often with our thoughts. So, were there any comments from that exercise from anyone?
That's really good. It was really good.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very simple exercise, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's a very useful exercise to do. So I encourage everyone, every day to take a few moments.
It is so good to see. Sorry, it is so good to see how simple things really are very. What's the word? Yeah, it takes you where you need to go. It gives you answers. This is very simple. I like simple things.
Sorry. It's actually kind of like meditation, isn't it? Like you tend to get some answers what you are kind of looking for, isn't it? And also, like, you tend to get bored, and then you sort of come up with some brilliant ideas.
Brilliant. So yeah, from my experience, it's the less there's me and the less there's a sense of I with this world of mind, the mental overlay, the more relaxed you are, and the more that there's a real sense of me and identification with that little character in the head that's trying to get somewhere or always reflecting or whatever, then it can be quite a heavy ride.
Yeah.
Anything you want to add, Yakim? Any other exercises you've done, or your experience of observing the mind? Have you noticed in yourself how the sense of I has weakened?
Yeah, I just notice when I do my work, especially when I work with people, there's less of that kind of sense because I need to open up the space for people. So there's just no room for that kind of rumoring in your mind and over identifying, because you have to be ready to go to the edge for the person, find the edge for the person, whatever that is. So I found that in that space, there's less room for that kind of I and over identification. So I think it is it's inherent in us, really. And I've read the book Waking Up by Sam Harris, who is a neuroscientist, and he quite clearly demonstrates that there's not really any kind of place where there is an I in the first place in the brain, right? So there's no kind of thing, there's like, this is the I got the I, and it's much more like just a connection of neurons. And I found it quite interesting, the exercise that he proposed, where you are doing what you actually also said, inquiring of, well, where is that I? Who is that I? Or thinking, well, how is that experience when I'm not I? Kind of playing around with questions and seeing how that plays out. And the funny thing is that when you actually get into that zone, any kind of worry and fear and anxiety that is there just kind of falls away, because there's nothing that is threatened. And you as an organism, the cells and everything is actually is happy in joy when you don't are in your head stuck. So I have those experiences, and they're quite nice to have.
I found a really powerful question when there's been fear to ask who is it who's scared? Who is it who has this fear? Just back the attention to the who, to the I. And it's not that you're going to find an answer, but it seems to just weaken the identification, like, oh, who is it who's scared? Or is it rather there's just a sensation of fear that's arising in my awareness, but there doesn't have to be someone that's scared?
Yeah. Cool.
And then you find out you're basically invincible.
All right. Has anyone another question, or are we about to wrap up?
I've got,
Was that a question in sign language?
well, I've got two. Question about energy is quite a long question, so I'll probably leave that maybe for another time. But the question around like sort of sleep, because I hear differing things in terms of some people's, most of the science says 8 hours, but a lot of the people are saying, you know, you could 4 to 6 is fine. So I mean, could you guys please share what you have experienced is best? I know it's quite individual.
Yeah, I personally don't. I'm not a sleep expert. I personally think that following that kind of inner rhythm is very important, that you feel it in your day. People I do have talked to who have cut down on their sleep, if you're interested in that, is that they actually had a very regular schedule. So they would go to bed at 12 and get up at 6, or at 1 and get up at 6. But that's every time. So there's no delay, there's no weekend or whatever. They just have this kind of regular clockwork going on to successfully cut down. But in general, I think the most healthiest is when you connect with your body, feel what does your body need. It's the same with food, you know, weight loss or whatever. It happens when you actually start to listen to your body and when you're not disconnected. So that would be my recommendation: connect fully with your body.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd second that. Just listen, rather than reading any studies. Listen to your own body. What does it actually want? And not feeling guilty for whatever that time is. Maybe your body only needs 5-6 hours. Maybe it needs 10. I don't know. But just accepting what your individual, unique body wants. Everyone's going to be different. And I found as well the quality of sleep. So obviously, quite simple, basic things. The time that you're going to bed. It seems to be that when you go to bed after sort of midnight, that the quality of sleep is worse. I personally wake up a lot less refreshed, even if I've had the same amount of sleep the later I go to bed. After doing some research, it seems that our bodies like to go follow the patterns of when the sun rises and the sun sets. So yeah, listen to your body.
Okay. Thank you.
Can we go for one more question?
Sure.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment actually. That's all. I've started to do meditation for about I think it's around 40 days, and it's been very, very helpful for me. I used to get anxious quite a lot, and it has sort of reduced my anxiety a bit. So I just wanted to know some additional tips on how to be in the moment, like how to be a bit more mindful.
How to be more mindful?
Yeah.
Well, it's like a muscle, really, from my experience. So, rather than just making meditation your time, or a set period in the day where you just do your mind stuff, mindfulness, start making your entire reality 24/7 reality, second by second, play by play, moment by moment, vibration by vibration, thought by thought. Everything about now. So if you haven't already done that mental shift, do that. Make your whole day a meditation, if you want to call it that. That will, and then from there, it's just a question of practicing and patiently allowing things to come and your awareness to expand more and more. Being kind and gentle as well. And okay, if suddenly you've had loads of periods of peace, you've made progress in meditation, and then suddenly, because that might happen, and that's okay, that's good. It's all good, it's all perfect, it's all just stuff that's coming up to start releasing, to start letting go.
To add on that, I would say you can, every day you can choose a practice. So for example, every time you're at a red light, you're going to be mindful for that period of time. Because if you set the goal, at least for me, if I would set the goal to be the whole day mindful, it would be too much to process for my brain, that I wouldn't be really able to do it. So I found quite useful to have certain triggers. So red light, oh, I'm mindful. Or I'm eating, I'm mindful, right? I'm eating, I'm mindful, or I'm drinking, I'm mindful. So every day, you can switch it up if you want, but it just hones it in a little bit more, and then it's a lot more natural once you've done it for a while, that it just creeps into the other activities as well. Just as a different point of view.
I like it. Put mindful signposts during the day. Your shower.
Yeah.
Your coffee breaks. Every time you go to drive, you can just start staggering them in.
Yep.
Yeah, makes sense.
But have fun with it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Beautiful.
All right.
That's it then.
Yeah. Thank you very much for coming. I had a wonderful time.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Carla, Peter, Ridwan, Yakin, and myself.
Yeah.
May we all continue the love movement together. So keep spreading these ideas of love, of lightness out to the world. Be shining examples of the highest truth that lies within you.
That was beautiful, Sam. See you later, guys.
Wow.
Yeah.
See you.
Bye.
Bye.